Today's victim is a 2004 Honda Civic LX, and the goal is to put this radio in it. There's nothing wrong with the factory radio in this car. However, we have an iPod, and there's no provisions from the factory to hook an iPod to this radio, so we're using an FM modulator. Well, that pretty much sucks. If you're on a trip, you have to change stations 50 times, and it just doesn't work that well. So that's the main reason for replacing this radio. That, and it has Bluetooth connectivity, so we could use our cell phones through the radio. Because trying to operate this grinding stick, and the car, and the phone, and the radio is just all a little bit too much for me. The first step is to remove the shift knob, and then to remove this plate here. So what we're going to do is take this plastic ring and push down. Now we're going to unscrew the shift knob. Alright, now if you have an automatic, this is probably going to be a little bit different, and I'm not sure how to do that. To remove this plate, you're going to want to get a screwdriver or something like this trim removal tool that I have from my previous life as an auto mechanic. And we just want to kind of get it in there. Alright, and it popped off. Just want to be very gentle with it, because it can break very easily. Once you have the clips removed, you just pull this up and get that out of your way. And here's what the shifter cables look like. The next step is to remove this piece here. And to do that, you have to remove this screw, that screw, that screw, and that screw. Here's what the shifter cables look like. There's first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, fifth gear, and reverse. Okay, those 4 screws previously mentioned are out. There is another one right here. You have to take that one out. For the next step, you want to move the driver and passenger seats all the way forward and recline them forward. And there's a screw here and a screw there on both sides. On each side of the very front of the center console, there's these little pins. What you need to do is get something and push the inside of that pin in, and then it will pop out. And now that's free. Okay, now that the screw's out of the center console, you want to take this plastic cover off of your e-brake handle. So now we'll have room to slide that out. Now, once all your screws and your 2 little plastic clips are removed, all you have to do is give this a good pull, which I've already done. It's going to take a little bit of effort, because you need to pop these clips loose. Once that's off, you need to disconnect the power socket wiring. And now your center console is free to remove. Okay, the next step, once the center console is removed, is to go under here and remove that screw. Okay, now that you have your little screw on the bottom removed, you want to take this module out. And to do this, you have to be careful. If you use a screwdriver, you have to really be careful, because you may damage this. This is soft right here. So you want to take your trim tool and kind of work it around. And just be very gentle. It's a little bit easier putting it in than it is taking it out. I was having a problem getting this module out, and I looked underneath and I realized that I screwed up. I said there was one screw under there. You need to take that one out and that one. One thing to remember, and I almost caught myself being guilty of this, you may have to put some pressure on these pieces to get them to pop out. However, you really don't have to put that much on it. I was getting to the point where I was starting to put enough on there where nothing was happening, so you need to just stop and figure out what's holding it up. I missed that screw. If I would have kept prying on it, I would have broke this instrument cluster here. Or not instrument cluster, this HVAC thing. It's a cluster. Alright. Okay, now that we got the cluster pulled back, you need to disconnect your HVAC controls, and it looks like there's 2 connectors back here for that. Disconnect your radio antenna and your radio controls, but before we do that, we need to remember to get the CD out of the CD player, otherwise I'll be pissed. Alright. There's one more connector to remove, and that's for your recirc and your AC button or your defrost button. Right there. Now this whole cluster should come out once we remove... Oh, Jesus. And there's also the hazard switch. You have to have little fingers to get in here. Alright. We have now freed the cluster from the vehicle, and we're going to take it inside to work on.